Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's update on Tropical Storm Debby. So, Tropical Storm Debby is nearing hurricane strength as of 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time this evening. Tropical Storm Debby has maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour, gusts up to 75 miles per hour, is moving to the north, and has a minimum central pressure of 992 millibars. Taking a look at the latest cone for Tropical Storm Debby, as we go into 1 a.m. tonight, we're going to be looking at Hurricane Debby with maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour and gusts up to 105 miles per hour moving to the north-northeast. And then Hurricane Debby is expected to make landfall sometime early tomorrow morning in the Big Bend of Florida between Apalachicola and Perry. And as we go into 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, still looking at an 85 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane with 105 mile per hour gusts moving to the northeast across north central Florida, just east of Tallahassee. Debby's going to skirt across southeastern Georgia, going into 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning with 50 mile per hour winds, 65 mile per hour gusts moving to the east northeast. And then Debby's going to very slowly move across southeastern Georgia, looking at 40 mile per hour winds and 50 mile per hour gusts going into 1 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, moving to the east, going into 1 a.m. Wednesday morning, 45 mile per hour tropical storm, 60 mile per hour gusts moving to the east-northeast, re-emerging over the western Atlantic south of Savannah, Georgia, going into 1 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, 50 mile per hour winds, 65 mile per hour gusts, going into 1 p.m. Thursday afternoon, 50 mile per hour winds, 65 mile per hour gusts moving to the north-northeast, potentially making another landfall just southwest of Charleston, South Carolina. And then looking at Friday, 35 mile per hour tropical depression, 45 mile per hour gusts moving to the northeast, just northwest of Myrtle Beach for 1 p.m. Friday. So, Debby is going to really slow down after she makes landfall tomorrow morning. Is going to be over south central southeastern Georgia and southwestern South Carolina for about 2.5 days. This is going to be leading to prolific rainfall across southern Georgia and South Carolina. Looking at our watches and warnings real quick, we have a lot of tropical storm watches and warnings across western central Florida, through northern Florida, through Tallahassee, Tampa, Jacksonville, into much of southern southeastern Georgia, through Savannah. And then we have storm surge warnings for Tampa through Spring Hill, the Big Bend of Florida, through Apalachicola. And then we have more storm surge warnings from St. Mary's through Brunswick, up through Savannah, through Charleston in the blue areas. And then a couple of tornado warnings, as well as the bands of Debby are producing tornado spin-ups across Florida. Taking a look at our key messages, potentially historic rainfall across southeast Georgia and South Carolina through Friday morning will likely result in areas of catastrophic flooding. Heavy rainfall will likely result in considerable flooding impacts from the Florida Big Bend region through southeastern Georgia and the coastal plain of the Carolinas through Friday. There is a danger of life-threatening storm surge along portions of the Gulf Coast of Florida, with 6 to 10 feet of inundation above ground level expected somewhere between Ocklawahnee River and the Suwannee River on Monday. Residents in the storm surge warning area should follow any advice given by local officials. Hurricane conditions are expected Monday along portions of the Florida Big Bend region where a hurricane warning is in effect, with tropical storm conditions beginning this evening. Tropical storm conditions are expected through Monday further south within the tropical storm warning along Florida's west coast, including the Tampa Bay area. Dangerous storm surge and wind impacts are expected along portions of the southeastern U.S. coast from northeastern Florida to North Carolina through the middle of the week, and storm surge warnings and tropical storm watches and warnings have been issued for portions of these areas. So the key messages are mentioning catastrophic flooding, and taking a look at our rainfall forecast, we're going to be seeing here why in a minute. We have 1 to 2 inches of rain projected across western North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, and western Florida in the light green, as well as down towards Miami, Florida. Looking at a good 2 to 4 inches of rain in the dark green shaded area. This includes Charlotte, North Carolina, and Orlando, Florida. But as we start going into the yellow areas, this is where we're going to start seeing some flooding issues. Hatteras, Raleigh, Durham, Tallahassee, Florida, looking at about 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. Going into this light orange shaded area, 6 to 8 inches of rainfall. And as we start going into this darker orange shade, this is where flooding is going to be a major concern in areas like Jacksonville, Florida, through Wilmington, North Carolina, maybe even Augusta, Georgia. We're looking at 8 to 12 inches of rainfall, which could be leading to catastrophic flooding, and it gets worse from there. Taking a look at our red shade area, 12 to 16 inches of rain are expected across southeastern Georgia and southeastern South Carolina. And if you live in Savannah and Charleston, you could be seeing as much as 16 to 20 inches of rainfall from Hurricane Debby. This is going to be leading to catastrophic, life-threatening flooding across southeastern Georgia and southeastern South Carolina, unfortunately. So please prepare now for this devastating flooding if you live across southeastern Georgia and southeastern South Carolina, even south central North Carolina, from Hurricane Debby. And taking a look at our excessive flooding rainfall outlook, we have a high risk of excessive flooding rainfall across northern Florida, southeastern Georgia, and southern South Carolina in the pink shade area. This includes Savannah and Charleston. A moderate risk in the yellow from Tallahassee through Augusta, through Wilmington, through Tampa Bay and Jacksonville. Slight risk for central Florida, western Florida, central Georgia, western areas of South Carolina, much of North Carolina, and Virginia, and a marginal risk of flash flooding across portions of Alabama, Georgia, western areas of the Carolinas, Virginia, into eastern Virginia, northeast North Carolina, and southeastern Florida as well. So very, very, very devastating flooding is expected across northern Florida, southeastern Georgia, and southeastern South Carolina. Taking a look at our latest storm surge forecast, we're now looking at 6 to 10 feet of storm surge between Ochalockonee River and the Suwannee River, producing major impacts. 1 to 2 feet of storm surge between Mexico Beach and Indian Pass. 4 to 6 feet of storm surge between Indian Pass and Ochalockonee River. And then between Suwannee River and Yankeetown, looking at 5 to 8 feet of storm surge. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge from Yankeetown through Tampa Bay, through Tampa Bay, through the middle of Longboat Key, and then looking at 2 to 4 feet of storm surge from Tampa Bay through Charlotte Harbor, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge from Bonita Beach down through Flamingo. So very dangerous storm surge as well from Hurricane Debby, especially across the Big Bend area of Florida. Can't forget about Georgia and South Carolina. Could be seeing up to 2 to 4 feet of storm surge in these areas as well. And unfortunately, to top everything off, we have tornadoes that are likely going to form and have been forming already across the southeast. We have a 5% chance of a tornado touching down within 25 miles of a location today across much of Florida in the brown shaded region, with a 2% chance in the green shade area from southeast Florida to southeastern Georgia. And then taking a look at tomorrow's tornado outlook, looking at another 5% chance of a tornado across northeastern Florida, southeast Georgia, southeastern South Carolina, within 25 miles of a location in the brown shade area, 2% chance in the green area. Also, a little tornado threat across the upper Midwest. So if you live across northern Florida, southeastern Georgia, southeastern South Carolina, make sure you're preparing for catastrophic, life-threatening flooding over the next several days from Hurricane Debby. And in the meantime, if you live across the Big Bend of Florida into Valdosta, Georgia, make sure you're preparing for hurricane conditions tonight and tomorrow morning, even tomorrow afternoon, as we're going to be seeing Hurricane Debby move ashore, likely as a strong Category 1 hurricane. Thanks for watching this evening's update. Please stay safe and have a wonderful evening, my friends.